This is Suzanne Wagner. I am doing the numerology and astrology for 6/14/2021. We're almost to the middle of the month, and it rained again last night. It wasn't even in the forecast to rain in Northern California, where I am outside of Willits, but it did rain, and I'm so happy. But now it's sort of muggy. It's sort of the sun came out and it's a little bit muggy, but I'll take muggy and damp any day of the week because we need so much more rain. So sending positive vibrations to the rain goddess for more rain. Anyway, we are doing the numerology today. And today, if you add all those numbers together, you get the number 16. And if you add the 1 and the 6 together, you get the number 7. The number 7 helps us put things together in an orderly fashion. Sometimes structure is what brings peace and contentment. Knowing what is ahead and having things in places where we can find them gives great joy. Within structure, we can rest. Within structure is civilization. Within structure, we manifest nations. Within structure, the destructive nature of humanity is tamed and directed. Those that want to tear things down, those that want to tear down things that are helpful and that generate safety for people are deeply wounded and want the world to suffer the way they have suffered. While that is so sad, it must be thwarted with everything we have, because in the end, what they are creating is not suitable for anyone, especially them. We cannot allow immature children in adult bodies to have sway over things that matter, because then everyone loses. The number 7 is one of my favorite numbers because it's about the maps and the patterns and the strategies that work effectively within this domain. So we are part of a game called karma, and we have to operate within this space of experiences and consequences for our actions, and that's how we learn. People come to psychics like me because they sense intuitively that they know something's ahead of them, and they kind of want a little bit more information about what that might be so that they can actually prepare. And the intuitive arts are all 7 vibrations. So it's all about maps. So astrology is a map of what the stars are doing, and when Mars hits Venus, we have a tendency to have certain patterns happen. It's also about palmistry, and palmistry says, oh, well, when you have this kind of hand, this is the kind of person you are, and if you are that kind of person, then you will have a tendency to do things or to respond in certain ways. Numerology, again, is a map, and numerology kind of looks at it and says, okay, what's happening in the patterns for today. And in this particular pattern, it is the number 7, which says we need to take a look at the patterns, and we need to see if those patterns are actually serving us and working with us, or if they're actually working against us in some way. The astrology today. Here we go again. Okay, today the second of 3 upsetting squares between Saturn and Uranus manifests. Saturn can make things more difficult. It can be demanding as it wants to build something that will stand the test of time. Uranus is a lightning rod and intends to disrupt the tried and true. New is more interesting than the old, or playing it safe. You can see how these two are opposite sides of the fence. And even when we weather this one, there is a final one at the end of the year, and a final square at the end of the year. And that will also manifest in 2022. So even once we get through these in December of this year, we're still kind of dealing with them in 2022. So the way to handle it is to seek freedom, but consciously, safely, and constructively. It is okay to be the most dynamic and energetic person, and also the sanest and most stable of all time. While that is a tall order, remember that this world has enough chaos for all of us, and we do not need to push further towards places that make us crazy. Today, we may feel the friction that these 2 planets are generating. Structure helps when the desire to expand beyond our known reality is at hand. In ballet, you need to fully feel the floor and caress the ground with your whole being, and that allows you to then leap and fly more freely. It is how the air touches lightly on the earth and how the earth reaches up to the air. Notice if there are rules that we feel we need to push against. But in this world, we do need some boundaries. Whatever we do, don't undermine the stability that is offered. It is essential not to settle, but also to let go of old pictures in our minds of what we want and expect. There might be something out there that will be even better than those old pictures. Trust that the universe has a plan, and it might be a great one. Mars and Jupiter quincux, making us doubt what we know and feel as if our instincts are not aligned with the bigger dream. Choices seem more significant and have greater potential to go either towards the negative or the positive. It may feel as if the timing is off or that we are not sure what we want. Clearly, there are obvious places that are presenting that need to be handled in a conscious and selfless way. My quote for today: those that cannot see the truth also cannot understand what is of value, and value cannot be destroyed by those who lack the intelligence to understand the depth of meaning that certain things contain. It is not objects that have value, but principles. Those that focus on an objective world and the external stuff carry nothing of value within. What creates worlds are concrete dreams. What manifests great civilizations will stand the test of time are the principles upon which they base their nation. But those who only value how something looks do not have the intelligence to create principles. Without principles, all their ideas are just irrational thoughts without substance. And without substance, those ideas carry no meaning, nor can those mindless ideas stand the cruel and relentless tests of time. So I know that's an incredibly long quote, but what I'm focusing on here is that notice that we still tell the stories of the principles and values of Camelot. Notice we still idealize certain values, even in our television shows about a world that holds less prejudice and judgment, and how we have this intuitive knowing in our core that the way through the great suffering of humanity is by inclusion, not exclusion. And so the great principles that rule this planet do not go away. They do not go away, and they don't die. They are, I think, really alive. I think those values and those ideas are alive within this. And while they may at times go away and at times come back, I think that they don't ever really leave. I think that they're core values here that just won't let go. And they continue to not let go throughout time. So those values that people dreamed of and idealized in the dark ages are still the same dreams and ideals that we're reaching for even today. So if we look at it from that perspective, shouldn't we just embrace those ideals instead of resist them so much? I think that's part of the interesting dilemma. Okay. My blog for today. So my blog is a little weird today, just giving you a heads up. I had this dream last night that I was protecting a sacred area, like a vault, a storage area that was filled with the most precious principles and ideals and dreams that this world has manifested. And in that world, a virus turned perfectly good people into dangerous and infectious minions carrying out the plans of this evil virus. It's like the virus has an agenda and it takes over humanity. And these people kept trying various things these people that were infected kept trying to do various things to get into this sacred vault, this sacred area that I was defending throughout the dream. Because I was protecting it, they believed that it must have great value for them. And they would send in those that had just been recently infected, but that didn't seem to be part of the blind, mindless minions of this entity, because the longer you had this virus, the more dysfunctional you became. And eventually one got in. But then I realized that their beliefs disintegrated. Um, I realized that their beliefs disintegrated the structures within their mind that understood what was of value and what was sacred and what wasn't. It became clear that while those most sacred objects were right in front of them, they could not see them or realize that they were of great value. So they were picking up pencils and saying, "This pencil is of great value." And I'm like, "No, actually, that thing over there is of great value, but I'm not going to tell you that. Because if you think the pencil has the greatest value, then I'm just going to let you run with that." And so instead, they were seeking out things that in their demented state had value, but in truth were worthless. And in the dream, once I realized it, I just opened the doors and let them all in because they had no capacity to understand sacredness, spiritual laws, or rules, or discern value. It was amazing to watch while they focused on something that had no great consequence and mushroom it into something that captivated the attention and the focus of others that were infected. And they would ooh and ah over it like it was something so important. And I just smiled in the dream and I knew to let them wander through because I realized that those who cannot see truth could not understand what is of value, and that value cannot be destroyed by those who lack the intelligence to understand the depth of meaning in certain things or the things that they contain. It is not objects that have value, but principles. And these creatures had no principles. They only repeated what their leader saw as value and then mindlessly agreed that it had value, but it only had value to them. And then a particular person came in my dream, and he was in such a state that he talked endlessly about trying to get this terrible taste of sirloin out of his mouth. He could not understand why anyone would like sirloin when a good McDonald's hamburger was better than anything. I then realized that the more infected these souls became, the less functional they also became. I realized that those in charge would soon be so ill that this entire terrible cycle would implode on itself, and those infected would not ever really be a threat to what was of great value, because in their state of mind, they were completely disconnected from what was truth, even what was the definition of a principle. The result of the stream was a sense of amusement at the drama that was being generated and how even I had believed that these loud and obnoxious people were any real threat. But now I realize that such souls are lost, ill, confused, and unable to be of any great consequence because they have no principles and they are not protecting anything of value. If they have nothing and cannot see the truth, then they cannot be a threat because they hold no substance. And such souls are only, pardon the phrase, pissing in the wind. And then I woke up and I felt really calm. I felt really relaxed and really hopeful that, this whole phase that we have been in will move out and that the core principles that rule in conscience and truth and value really cannot be taken away, even when certain souls try. Okay, take that for what it is. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.